Hey guys, Dr. Epic here. Welcome back to another video. In case you don't know, in this channel I like to talk about things that interest me, and I find that when I make videos like these, people in the comments or the DMs seem to always bring to light something I haven't thought of or heard of, and I really like to learn new stuff about the things I like. In these videos I try to ask specific questions and then I explore them. Like in this video I will ask the following question: Mass Effect Andromeda's multiplayer. Was it good? First, I will start with my impressions that set into me when I played it for the first times. Then I will explore things that I learned from other sources outside the games, like Wikipedia and stuff like that. Because you see, I always like to experience games, at least first, purely within the game itself. However, outside stuff that explores or adds to the game is always very welcome, as long as it's not necessary to enjoy the game. I think that's just completely fine. As you all know, I am guilty of having played Andromeda multiple times, even having enjoyed a great deal of it. Once I tried the multiplayer, because, the mode was right there, part of the product, like the car seat heating feature in my car that I never thought about. I'm sure some of you can relate to that feeling. That is, unless you drive a BMW.
Bruh.
To answer the question in this video, we have to define what makes a game or a game mode good. I will define a good video game as a video game that is fun or entertaining, because that is the point of a video game, to be fun. But it also has to be more than just a little entertaining and fun. It has to be consistent, not just entertaining at times. This, naturally, becomes a discretionary question, aka a question that will be answered subjectively for each person. I will, however, attempt to identify objective elements, that is, elements and conclusions that I believe most people will agree with, or at least understand. Now let's find out. Is this mode fun? It's no secret that Andromeda's multiplayer mode plays very similar to Mass Effect 3's multiplayer mode, so I feel like I have to talk a little bit about the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer mode to set the stage for talking about the Andromeda mode. Now, the multiplayer mode in Mass Effect has this gameplay that works like this. Hordes of enemies come in, you blast them alongside some teammates, you do some super advanced objectives, and then you extract after a set amount of waves, usually. So the Andromeda mode didn't really reinvent the wheel in these places, I felt. As for how the multiplayer mode interacts with the single player, aka Mass Effect's bread and butter, I thought that Mass Effect 3's multiplayer mode worked well in Mass Effect 3. It was a galactic war, and this was a fun way to let you in on the perspective of all the other soldiers in the galaxy that was fighting the Reapers and the other bad guys. It made the war feel bigger for me than if we just had Shepard and his or her friends' perspectives in the war. So, lore-wise and story-wise, it made sense to include in the game. And for me it felt innovative enough to at least justify its existence, in my opinion, of course. I have to say I could always feel though that it was EA that forced BioWare to make this multiplayer mode in Mass Effect 3 just to monetize it with loot boxes, and that always felt a little bit off and sticky icky, I didn't find the grind for loot box loot in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer to be too bad though. I was very grateful for that. I never spent a single real life coin on one of those boxes, but I still managed to unlock a lot of content and a lot of different characters to play as. And the way the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer mode interacted with the single player, I always thought was cool, in a way. How the multiplayer grind increased your war assets. But we have to be honest and say that this was, no matter how you cut it, a different addition to the Mass Effect formula. And I understand that some people didn't like it, that they were kind of forced to play multiplayer to get the best ending. I completely sympathize with that. But in regards to Mass Effect Andromeda, I just mentioned these things to point out that the multiplayer in Mass Effect 3 had this sort of interesting interaction with the single player, and that does not apply to Andromeda's multiplayer. For as far as I can tell, the only benefit you gain in Mass Effect Andromeda's multiplayer is these crafting materials in single player that you can use to make weapons and armor, but you could also in the single player itself get these things elsewhere pretty effectively, as I recall. And as for the lore-wise point of the multiplayer mode in Andromeda, the point of the mode is, to quote the Mass Effect Wikipedia, take on the enemy threats as part of the Apex Force, whose task is to protect the Andromeda Initiative's interests. So I get it, right? You are newcomers in this strange new galaxy, and you're trying to get a foothold and a safe society. So you have to go out there, retrieve some loot, secure your borders, kill some bad guys. I can understand why this mode fits into the story. I have to say it's not as enthralling or engaging as fighting the Reaper forces for the survival of free organic life and preventing endless extinction cycles in Mass Effect 3's multiplayer mode. But you know, that's the perhaps the original trilogy's fault for being so epic. And that's okay, in my opinion. When you try to expand an artwork that is so grand in scale, like Mass Effect, the next logical step is to bring the story stakes down a notch, so you can get a breather before you perhaps eventually turn up the heat later again. So, in a semi-conclusion here, the lore reasons behind the inclusion of the Andromeda's multiplayer mode I find to be serviceable and okay enough. Before we continue now, I just have to present this quote from the Mass Effect Wikipedia that I found to be funny and summarizes pretty much what I feel in terms of the multiplayer's mode necessity in Mass Effect Andromeda. The quote goes like this: completing special missions may earn the player certain single-player rewards, but otherwise the multiplayer mode is completely optional, does not affect the story of the single-player mode in any fashion. That seems about right. So story-wise and single-player-wise, the multiplayer mode in Andromeda is not really necessary and does not expand it that much. So for now, let's conclude. The multiplayer mode was not necessary for the core single-player experience. Can it still be fun though? I thought the gameplay aspect, when you look at just the gameplay loop of the multiplayer matches, was fun and entertaining. Andromeda's combat system served it well, the mode had fun enough enemies and fun enough maps to play on. It's fun, but I did not find it captivating. And by that I mean that I did not want to log in to play this mode. So I basically just tried it a couple of times, like I said earlier, just to try it out, but the mode never made me want to come back. And I was a pretty loyal Mass Effect guy back then. So this would imply, at least for me, that this mode is not fun and entertaining in the broader sense. And perhaps it's not captivating is because it's not necessary. Because that way you don't feel any stakes while playing this? Perhaps. Some people find modes like these captivating despite not being necessary for the single-player experience. And I believe this is simply because you earn feel-good chemicals in your brain by gaining and grinding for loot. This loot grind didn't captivate me though. The loot or the other aspects of the multiplayer grind didn't seem worth it enough for me to log in and play it. But some people still play this mode. I mean, that's why the multiplayer mode was the only component of the game to actually get a DLC. I'm just kidding. The reason why the multiplayer mode got support and the single player mode didn't is because it could be monetized. Just joking. But also not. Anyway, there is indeed a grind system inside the multiplayer mode that still keeps some people grinding and playing. So I think it would be nice for us to explore what does this grind consist of. At least for me, because I'm not familiar with this. According to Wikipedia, you could grind your characters, your weapons, your skills, and you could basically grind the store. As for your characters, you could eventually, after some patches and DLC, get 36 different characters, featuring the good old humans, Asari, Turians, Salarians, Krogans, this guy, new guy, Angara, and for some reason, the Batarians. Each has their own skills, 3 active and 2 passive skills, alternating between the 36 available skills from single player and a few unique multiplayer only skills. You could eventually use a so-called passive skill known as a veteran bonus that was giving you more damage, power, combo, melee damage, and a will to live. The veteran bonus was gained by collecting character cards above rank X. These cards were collected from the store. And this is new, I didn't know this. You could actually prestige in this game, meaning you could boost all your characters' health, shields, and powers, according to the Wikipedia. I saw, however, some more spicy descriptions of the prestige system on some forums. They say that prestige is a worthless social currency for people who do the same thing over and over again because they have too much time on their hands or they are children whose parents have locked them in a room. But let's be honest, that describes all grind systems in games ever. Other than that, you could also unlock a veteran bonus skill. I wonder, can any Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer veterans tell me how much these things actually affected gameplay? Because I get a feeling they're just simple, unimportant stat changes. But as someone who grinded for titles in Modern Warfare 2 1, I have no authority to slander this. Oh, and by the way, how annoying is it that we have to say Modern Warfare 2 1 because of Modern Warfare 2 2 that just came out? Anyway. So, before I finish my dissection of the multiplayer, I need to mention the store. The store. The store sells packs, characters, equipments, mods, items, and distributes special rewards earned. Contents of packs include weapons, mods, character unlocks, and much, much more. Packs may be purchased with in-game credits earned through gameplay or alternatively with real currency via Andromeda points. Having not put any grind into this mode, again, I would be grateful to people with experience telling me exactly how this worked in practice. Was it feasible and reasonable to grind in-game, or were you forced to use Andromeda points, aka real money? And how did this compare to the grind in Mass Effect 3 if you tried that as well? I see that basically the entire grind can be accelerated with the store, so that just seems like classic EA. Also, the store appears to have a rotating stock to keep FOMO in check. So yeah, well, I think I've seen enough of outside sources describing this mode. It seems there is a grind system in place for Mass Effect Andromeda's multiplayer, but that it's relying pretty much only on store-based, at times rotating and therefore randomized, character grind and surface level stat changes. It doesn't look way too bad on the surface. For some people, again, this is enough to be fun and captivating. And the grind system seems deep enough when I look at the Wikipedia's recollections at least. However, the mode never captivated me, so I never felt tempted to jump into this pond. And now that Mass Effect Andromeda is, let's be honest, scrapped, and devs and executives are moving over to Unreal Engine again, likely with the next Mass Effect game, that makes me fear that Mass Effect Andromeda will be pretty much forgotten. So why would I commit time to playing this multiplayer mode if it doesn't even affect my single player playthroughs? That might not even be relevant in the next games. So as for my conclusion, I find it challenging to land on a satisfying conclusion. Like I said, I found the multiplayer mode to be unnecessary, but it does have a fun enough gameplay loop. And the point of games is to be fun. Fun is subjective. Can I say the game mode is good as long as some people find it fun? For me, relevance to single player and necessity proves important for a Mass Effect multiplayer mode to make it captivating. Mass Effect Andromeda's multiplayer did not meet that requirement. It was therefore not fun in the larger picture for me. A game or game mode should be fun and make you interested in playing it. For me, it was simply just boring, despite Andromeda's engaging combat mechanics. I find it to be an unnecessary mode with an uncaptivating grind. And following these thoughts, my conclusion, sadly, has to be as follows. Mass Effect Andromeda's multiplayer is not good. Mass Effect Andromeda's multiplayer is bad. As always, may there be found mercy on my soul for concluding. Do you agree? Disagree? Please tell me why in the comments if you feel like it. Did I miss something crucial in my thinking and research? Once again, I'm very interested in hearing about the experiences of other people how you had it with Mass Effect Andromeda's multiplayer. Maybe especially you guys who played it a lot, or maybe even play it still. Conclusions are scary, people. I should check my breaks every night now, going forward. And I hope that some of you at least choose not to believe any suspicious self-written confession notes from my side.
But when you find my body, don't believe the suicide note.
Thanks for now, guys. Dr. Epic, shutting up now.